record button. All right, so this is the order that we follow in order to make our noggin. And hair is going to be last for us. But I'm going to shape the noggin and push in the eye sockets and then go immediately to the nose. And then usually you take a break, a day or two, and let your noggin kind of just sit for a little bit. And then you move on to the eyes and so on. All right, so here's my noggin, and to shape it, I could use the side of my hand, I can use the table. I need to think about which is the top and which is the bottom of my noggin. I have a weird line here, so I actually think that's going to be the mouth area. Usually you pick the nicest side for the front, but this is a pretty lumpy, bumpy one. So I'm going to flatten out the top. Okay. I want my noggin to sit on the table. I don't want it to roll around. So, oops, scaring my dog. Put this on here. There we go. Perfect. All right. So that's shaped. And now I'm going to focus on the noses. So I'm going to do a demo on each one of these and talk about them. So tiny, cartoon, realistic nose, that's anything really with nostrils, and the pinch pot noses. First, you have to determine where it's going to be located on your noggin. Most of our characters have symmetrical faces. Mine is supposed to be a realistic one, even though I'm doing all the different types of noses and eyes on this. So, but I want to figure out, let's see if I can set my camera up a little bit better. There we go. Yeah, where like the center, where my eyes are going to be, where my nose is going to be. So if I look at my picture, there it is. I'm going to set it up where things are going to be. And I need to push in the eye sockets. Now, if your clay's already dry, you do not want to do this. You will break it. My clay is right there on the verge. I can't push in that much. It's not super squishy, which is good because that could cause a problem too. But it also is starting to dry out a lot. And I want my eye sockets to be larger than my eyes. The eye sockets should always be visible around the eyes. Your goal isn't to fill in the eye sockets so they were never even there. That's actually a way to create an air bubble, an air pocket. All right, so it's that. Okay, and then my nose is next. The nose is the centerpiece of the face. So I would look at my picture and think about how it looks from the front and how it looks from the side and create a nose based off of that. But I'm going to start with the tiny nose and show you how to make one of those. Having some clay. Okay. All right, so when I make a tiny nose, it can be in almost any shape, but you do want to think about your characters having a three-dimensional nose, even if it's a skinny little line drawing. It really does need to still take up space this way. So what I do not want you to do is to, there's my toothpick, great. Create a nose that looks like this or this, because you're trying to interpret a line drawing. Not that. So even if it's like a scarecrow or something, that the scarecrow does have some width to its nose. Or if it's Stewie, don't do this. right? You really have to think about it in 3D. If Stewie walked up to you and was like somebody like at Disney World, how they have the princesses all dressed up. If it was a person dressed up like Stewie, or even just, it probably wouldn't have a weird nose like that. It would probably have some I don't know, take up some space a little bit. Okay, so trying to make my little nose shape. This is not a little nose, that's more realistic size. I want to make it smaller than that. And this shape I'm making may not meet like the requirements of your character. You have to really think about how to take what I'm showing you and like interpret it in a way that helps you build your character. So if I look at it like this, it looks kind of skinny and small. I'm gonna prop this up so you can see it a little better. Okay, but from the side, it looks weird. That looks super weird. So you have to keep doing that, like checking the sides and making sure that everything is the right size. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. Now to attach all these noses, any feature, you're going to need to score aggressively your noggin and then also the clay you're attaching. And then I'm going to use some slip. Just a little bit because my clay's pretty soft. And then I'm going to take this and wiggle it around, press down. I always start off with more clay than I need because it's easy to lose a lot of it when you're blending. So this is going to be a tiny nose when I'm done. Okay. And then I just start smoothing around it when I feel like it's really attached. I wiggle it around. And, you know, this might be the perfect shape. It could still be a little big. It just depends on what my character looks like. And a lot of Japanese anime characters have noses that kind of look like this. The Michael Jackson nose. Just like that. That's a little nose. So if as long as if you attach it properly, it'll be fine. But for the rest of the demos, I'm really not going to waste my time with that. I'm going to pull this nose off. And it came right off just because it was super soft clay, but it's still kind of attached there. Okay. Next one is cartoon nose. And if my class has any questions along the way, please ask in the chat. I can see it, but it doesn't show up on the video. Any of these kind of like basic shape noses that's not realistic would count as a cartoon nose. So if I had a ball of clay as my nose, because that's what it is, then that would be a cartoon nose, right? Something like that. Now, if you have any round shapes that are being attached to your noggin, you do need to flatten them where they're attached. You don't want it to just be a circle attached there. That doesn't work out. So like that, that would work fine. Okay. If it's a pointy nose, that's fine too, but you want to make sure that the connection is really wide so that it's not just a skinny piece of clay that's sticking off of your noggin. Like something like this is not gonna make it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so if I'm going to attach this, I would score, slip, agitate, and smooth. And once I have it attached, I can shape it properly. I can remove some clay if I need to. Right? So that's basically the cartoon nose. If you have a really, really big clown nose, that's going to take us into the punch pot area. So I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Right, realistic noses. Got some clay. Get this all mixed together. So realistic noses, just like all the other ones, you have to pay attention to what they look like from the front and the side. And I often start off with a really big piece of clay compared to the size of the nose. Something kind of wonky. And then I look at my picture in the front, and it's basically this shape where the blue line is, even though the nose is a lot smaller. So I want to form that. I'm going to make this the front. I'm going to form that shape. I can even use my toothpick to cut it out a little bit. I know this is really oversized, but I'll fix that in a second. And I want to think about where the eyes are, where the bottom of the nose is. So this is pretty excessive. Well, I'm going to make it a little smaller. Okay. Now, if I look from the side, that looks crazy. I really need it to be, I need it to match this here. So I'm going to turn this over. Do that. Okay. So it's skinnier at the top and fatter at the bottom. I'm going to adjust that a little. Pull a little more off the bottom. Okay. Right. And then it basically has this shape from the side. Now I can attach this. I could score, slip, agitate, wiggle it around, and then blend it. Again, I'm not doing that for this because I want to get through these. I need to be able to remove the nose to show you the next one. Okay. So I have it attached. I'm just going to start working on the shape from the sides. And then this direction. Definitely don't want this line there. You want it to look like it all belongs to the one piece of clay. It was always a solid piece of clay. And then once you have it, the sides and your profile, the right side, right size for you, then you are going to make the nostrils. And all you have to do is push down. Doesn't it look really strange in the beginning? Push down and then you squish up. So it's a push down and a kind of a squish up to create those nostrils. And then to make it even look more realistic, you can add a couple holes. This also helps thin out the clay so you don't have to worry about anything exploding in the kiln, although this nose is pretty small. So that's what it looks like. All right, I'm going to pull this nose off. See, it just comes right off. You can see my little nostril holes there. Look at those. And my last one is the pinch pot. And the pinch pot really varies depending on whether you have like a clown nose or you're trying to make an animal muzzle, or even if you want to make it the nose and mouth together by opening it up. So I'm going to show you each one. All right. So to make the pinch pot nose, you've got to make a pinch pot, and you're probably going to have to do this a few different times in order to get the right size. There's not really a formula I can give you to help you create the perfect size pinch pot. So you just get some clay and you follow the same steps where you make a ball of clay. Use wedged clay. And then once you have your ball of clay, you can start pinching the sides. And you think about what is the shape of, the nose. What does it need to be? If this isn't really working for you, then you need to get some more wedged clay and try it again. All right. Okay. So that could be a good clown nose. And if I scored and slipped and agitated and smooth and blended that all together and everything, I'm going to have a little bit of an issue here. I'm going to have an air pocket. So what do I need to do? I need to put a hole into the noggin, or have holes like for nostrils, or some way for the air to escape here. And it's this issue here. So the air inside of, this is a side view, but the air inside of the clown nose needs to go somewhere because it's going to expand in the kiln. And then if it expands, it'll figure out a way to get out of there. And usually that means breaking the nose. But if you put a hole into the noggin, it can enter the noggin. And then later I'm going to show you how to cut a hole into your noggin so you can allow that to be released. So these are things, anytime you make a pinch pot, which is a great solution to making something that looks really big attached to your noggin, it's a great solution, but you have to still deal with that. So I would take this and punch a hole right there. And now I can attach it, right? If you forget to do this, this is going to blow up. So you would want to make a, put a hole like in the bottom or something, somewhere you can't see it. All right. So that's the pinch pot nose. It's one of these two, right? If I have an animal nose, that like it's a mouth and nose, I'm going to think about like how big is the nose and where is the mouth going to be in that. It's usually a little bit lower. So I take my toothpick and I cut all the way through. If you do this, you do not have to punch a hole into your noggin for the pinch pot here. Okay. And now it looks kind of like a birdie beak. Okay. On the side, right? So this could be Angry Birds. It also could be a bear face. You follow the same rules with the realistic nose. You push down, you kind of form that little bear, some dogs, bunny rabbits. Might have to change the mouth a little bit. And then, you know, if it's attached, it's going to end up looking a lot more like what you want it to look like. So when you have it attached. But there doesn't, you don't have to cut in here if you do this. All right. Okay, so that's noses. Yay! Pause for a second.